to make a start. I notice that there's a few people online. Can we start with agenda item number 1? Are there any declarations of interest? No? Thank you. Any apologies for absence? I haven't received any so far. No, none. I take it there are none so far. Well, now we move on to agenda item number 3, minutes of previous meeting. I'm going to take the minutes of previous meeting page by page together with any matters arising at the same time. So if we turn to page 3 of the minutes. Page 4. Page 5. And finally, page 6. Can I assume there are no matters arising? Okay, thank you. We now move on to agenda item number 4, update on Armed Forces Day and Windrush 75 and Bishop Carnival. I'll ask Keith Burns to give us an update. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So just a brief verbal update on each of those items. So Armed Forces Day and Armed Forces Week, firstly. We have 2 events happening in Armed Forces Week. The first of those is on Monday, the 19th of June, so this coming Monday. And that starts with the raising of the Armed Forces flag, which is something that we do every year at the beginning of Armed Forces Week. But this year, we are also then reaffirming the Council's commitment to the Armed Forces community by signing an updated version of the Armed Forces Covenant. The current version of the Armed Forces Covenant was signed in 2013. So we're re-signing it to reaffirm our commitment. And as part of that commitment, I'm pleased to say that we're also committing to formally joining the Defence Employers Recognition Scheme, which means that we already have and will be putting in place a number of initiatives that promote employment by ex-service people, the families of service people, but also supports people who are reservists and similar. So we're making a number of commitments, and I'm also pleased to say that on the day itself, on the 19th, we will have representatives from the Armed Forces with us for the flag raising and for the signing of the covenant. And that's the team that in the morning will be at the Greater London Assembly for the London-wide flag raising, and they're then coming down to Merton specifically to support us in re-signing the covenant. So that's a really kind of positive event. So that's on the 19th, and then on Saturday the 24th, on Armed Forces Day itself, there will be a further event here at the Civic Centre hosted by the Mayor, and that will be an opportunity to formally recognise the contribution that our Armed Forces community make in the borough and in their day-to-day work. I should also just say that we are also proposing to set up from September of this year a standing monthly group that will meet to plan future Armed Forces events. So we will begin planning for Armed Forces Day next year, but it will also be involved in planning for Armistice Day events and for marking other key anniversaries as they come along. And that group will also have a role to play in making sure that we're continuing to develop our commitment through the Armed Forces Covenant. So that's our Armed Forces day and week plans. Shall I just stop there and check if there are any questions on that?
Are there any questions from anybody online?
Not yet.
Right.
So yes, for the 19th, all councillors should have been invited to the flag raising. Not everyone has then been invited to the signing, because that's in the mayor's parlour and there's a limited capacity. But and again, all councillors should have been invited to the event on the 24th.
You have to resend that.
There's been, I saw an email from the mayor tonight. The mayor has sent an invite to all councillors on all parties. Thank you. So can we carry on now to the Windrush celebration?
Chair, we had a question.
Oh. Can you put your question, please, Jerry? Hey, are you muted, or can you unmute yourself, please? No. I think we'll move on.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So moving on then to Windrush 75, which again is marked next week on the 22nd, and there will be an event in the council chamber, which will be our main event to mark Windrush 75. And as I reported at the last meeting of the Joint Consultative Committee, we are intending that event focus on, at least in part, on the life and contribution of Tony Sandiford. So there will be a number of speakers who will talk about Tony's role in the borough and in South London in relation to WIFA and all of the other contributions that he made. Invitations are going out for that imminently. So that will go out, and we'll have music, we'll have food and a range of contributions at that event. There are also a whole series of other events going on across the borough that we're involved with, either directly in organising or in supporting. So there are a range of events happening through the Libraries and Heritage Service, a number of exhibitions, a number of events that are involving children in designing posters and so on. And Alison, I'll bring Alison in a second in case there's anything she wants to add around that. And there are also a number of other events happening across the borough, and we're supporting those through promotion and in a variety of different ways. So I don't know whether Alison wants to add anything about the work that's happening with schools and with the Libraries and Heritage Service.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. Evening. I just want to introduce myself because I've never been to one of these meetings before, and I know most people know me already, but I sit within education. I sit in the school improvement team, and I lead on all things EDI for schools. So hence why I thank you, Keith, for passing it on to me about the Windrush competition that we've been organising. So we have a poster competition with the theme what Windrush means to me, and it's for primary schools and secondary schools. and entries are going to come in. The deadline is actually the date of Windrush, the 22nd. And then we're going to have an event which the Mayor and Deputy Mayor are going to come and present prizes to the winners. We did a similar event recently for the King's coronation, and it was very successful and well attended. So schools are busy at the moment designing their posters, and they are coming through, and the heritage team, well, I say the heritage team, Sarah and myself, will be displaying the artwork. So that will be up in the mezzanine for 2 weeks. So the event is going to happen on the 29th.
Councillor Slinger.
If I could I'll just come in as well to talk a little bit about Mitcham Carnival, which we're making sure we celebrate Windrush there, because the carnival's on 25th of June, so in a few days after the 75th anniversary. So Bo from Merton Connect has been working hard with some local school groups and community groups to put on a parade which represent the Windrush nations that will be going around the carnival grounds. So that should be really exciting. We also got a steel pan band, a local band, are performing, and some other performance that we've found of Windrush heritage, and we're really excited, and everyone should be there 10:30 till 5 on the 25th of June.
And there are lots of raffle tickets being sold. I think I've been doing some as well, and I'm also providing some raffle prizes, you know, for the day. And hopefully the mayor, I noticed that the mayor has sent out a few emails to a few people for raffle prizes. So if anybody knows anyone who would like to donate to raffle prize, please do so. Are there any questions from people online or in here? Councillor Akijima, have you got a question?
Just wanted to say that actually on the, I think it's on the Saturday. Was it Saturday, Friday, Saturday? In the town centre, Positive Network is doing a Windrush celebration there, so that's sort of starting things off there.
Because then also the Colliers Wood are having one 7:30 to 10 o'clock as well, so on the Saturday. So.
Sorry, we're all leaving our mics. Possibly not. As Keith said, a number of different organisations across the borough are putting on events, and we're putting that all on our website, aren't we? So can we commit as an action to kind of share that around with this group afterwards, so that everybody knows everything that's happening?
Does anyone online wishes to ask a question or any clarification of the celebration? Can you see anybody online? Okay, I take it then nobody is, no? No, nobody online wants to ask a question. So we all know what the position is with regard to the carnival and also the Windrush celebrations. And last Sunday, it was great to be at Tooting, St. Augustine Church with my colleagues at Councillor Agatha Akijima and the Deputy Mayor. We were at the service for Tony Sandyford and also the WIFA organization. And it was really a great service conducted by the Bishop of Croydon. Thank you. We now move on to agenda item number 5, role of the new borough superintendent and turnaround plan. Superintendent Luke Mooney.
Brilliant, thank you everyone. Unfortunately, my camera isn't working. I've had to sign in on my personal laptop. So unfortunately the Met don't seem to have Zoom. So hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Yeah, so it's a great privilege to have been invited to this meeting. I've been looking forward to hearing what's going on in Merton in this space. And it's an area that I'm really keen to get involved in, and how we can work better with our communities to build trust amongst our Black communities, our ethnic minority communities. I think it's a really important area as part of my plan for Merton, but obviously as well as part of the turnaround plan for the Commissioner. So obviously I should have said my name, Luke Mooney. The role that I've been brought in to do is specifically for Merton Borough. So as part of the Commissioner's turnaround plan, it's around bringing back a real local, sort of hyper-local approach to neighbour policing, really investing in what I believe is the core of policing, which is our neighbourhoods and our communities, and looking at how we can build on the relationships and strengthen our neighbour teams, and really importantly, get involved in what the community is doing and what opportunities are out there to actually work better together. I think in terms of the sort of context for this meeting and my role, obviously, as everyone will know about the race action plan. And I think obviously you've got the turnaround plan and the Casey report. And I guess in a sense they're the three quite linked together in that there is a theme around us building trust with our communities, getting to know people. And essentially, I think one of the key parts of from a Merton perspective as well, which I'm really interested to get sort of views on and look at how we do things, is not over policing our black and minority communities, and actually looking at how we can make sure we're sort of treating people really fairly, equitable, and building trust. And I think a big part of the turnaround plan, as people probably have heard, is building the strongest ever neighbour policing. And that's essentially the Commissioner's sort of #1 priority. But what that actually looks like is still something that we are developing at the moment. Obviously, I've been brought in as the sort of senior lead for the borough, as of the other 32 boroughs got a superintendent now. But the next stage is really, at the inception point here, is developing what the strongest ever neighbours looks like. And part of the work around that is engaging with our community. So I'd be really interested. It might not be the forum here to do it tonight, but in the future, is there anyone within this forum that would be interested in engaging in what that strongest ever neighbours should look like? Because I'm a real firm believer that we need to engage right from the beginning at the inception point of creating things. And I think it talks a lot in the Casey report about involving our communities in how we police and how we keep people safe at the point of actually creating initiatives and projects and new ways of working. So that's sort of an ask from me, I guess. Is there any opportunities within this forum, either today or a later date, to involve members of our community and our forum in the design of the strongest ever neighbourhoods? And I guess obviously to talk about some of the other things that are going on in the MPS at the moment. So we've got a race action plan chief superintendent that's been appointed, someone called Jeff Booth, who's also getting a lead responsible officer, which is someone who will coordinate our activities under the race action plan across the Met. So I think that's a really positive development from a policing point of view, because that allows us to have a really strong focus. We've also got a programme as well that we're developing, which is around building the leadership development and opportunities for our underrepresented officers. So it's called the Inspiring Leadership Programme. So it's the largest mentoring programme that policing in the UK has ever had. So what we're doing is we're working with EY, Ernst & Young, to deliver training for our officers that maybe don't always have the confidence to put in for promotion or specialist moves or whatever it might be, and just trying to also invest in the disproportionality that we have across policing, in that we do need more officers from ethnic minority communities, because we really need a Met that looks and feels like London. So that's a real tangible effort that we're engaging at the moment, and that represents Merton officers as well as the wider MPS. So I guess I'd probably just ask if that first of all kind of covers what my role is. It's keeping you as safe as possible and working with you and building really strong relationships. But also, if there are any questions or any takers on the engaging around the strongest neighbourhoods and how we can best deliver that.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Mooney. Just one question. Do you have a stall at the Mitcham Carnival?
We will do. Don't worry. That will happen. Because I know I've seen the posters for it as well, so I know we will be there. Is there a best person for me to make sure we link in with on that, Councillor?
To expand on it.
Hi, Luke. Yeah, I'll come in on that, and then also I've got a couple of other points, if that's all right, Chair. So yes, James Peppett has booked in a stall for the Mitcham local officers, I think, but let's just double check with that, Luke, after this meeting. I can speak to you about that. And firstly, thank you for being here. When I first met you, Luke, when you're only a couple of weeks into the job, and you talked about your commitment to neighbourhood policing and to the diversity of our communities, I said, look, you've got to come to our JCC. And you said, brilliant, yeah, when is it? And here you are. So we really appreciate that. And I just wanted to remind members of this committee that at a recent council meeting, as a council, we put forward a motion backing up the Casey Review's findings and asking for those to be implemented in full, and including that was a commitment to kind of holding the police to account. We've reiterated that in our meetings that we've had with Luke and with the BCU commander and other senior officers, and the leader and I have written to Sir Mark Rowley kind of demanding that. And Luke, your kind of ask of people to get involved is for me a really important part of the community holding you to account. So I just encourage people to take him up on this offer.
Thank you.
Are there anyone from online? There's a few people online.
Sorry, bear with me. So we have Councillor Bukhari.
Well, we start with Councillor Bukhari. Would you like to put your question, please?
Thank you. I've got 3 areas. First is on engagement. I'd like to know a little bit more about your engagement with faith groups and what kind of support you need within that area. If there is any specific support or gaps that you have, could you raise that down and maybe we could help with that area? Secondly, I'd like to know more about your data in terms of cadets that are from different diverse groups, so young people who are interested in joining the force, whether there's been a drop or a change in numbers of people interested in different ethnic minority groups, considering some of the publicity that the Met's had recently, and has that impacted on the numbers? And thirdly, data on stop and search in Merton as well. I'd like to know more about that in terms of numbers of people who've been stopped and searched in Merton, specifically, you know, ethnic minorities. As we know, there's a disproportionate number of people who come from the Black community that are stopped more than any others. Thank you.
Yep, no, Councillor, happy to answer those three points. So the first one around engagement and with our faith groups specifically. So we do have a dedicated engagement officer for our faith groups. At the moment, what we're trying to do is bring that officer sort of specifically into Merton so that we can really incorporate them into our overall plans and look at what opportunities we got to engage better with our various faith groups. But as an example, I went to the big gifter at the Morden Mosque, and I've also got a meeting next week with the president of the Ahmadi Muslim Association just to try and build some bridges and connections, and that's something I'm really personally committed to. I think it's massively important to actually go out and physically speak and see people, and that's something I'm encouraging my wider teams to do. I'm also looking for opportunities in terms of engagement and sort of in terms of gaps and areas of support. One thing that could be an opportunity is, are there any potential co-location opportunities across Merton? So I know the mosque has somewhere they might be interested in officers almost having a bit of an area to touch down, and I just think that might link into making sure that our officers are able to be out more in the communities, more visible. So that's sort of the first point.
It's not just the Ahmadi communities, there are other diverse, Muslims are very diverse as well, and please keep that in mind as well.
Yes, no, absolutely, and I totally appreciate that. Was just an example, sorry, Councillor, as opposed to it's not just one part of the community. I totally appreciate there's much wider elements to community engagement. And I'd also, just from my point of view, as I'm still learning about the role, be really interested, is there any specific community groups, faith groups that just don't feel engaged and that are interested in getting involved with the police? You know, the more I know, the more I can help sort of personally lead it and also direct my team to engage with our different communities. So I guess it's if there's any groups that you feel are lacking that engagement, I'll be really interested to hear about those. The second point, just around data and diversity, really good point around our cadets and quite rightly, it's been an extremely challenging time for the Met. There's been, some really difficult, painful things to see in the media, but at the same time, I think very necessary in that we need to root out the causes of these issues, which I know the Commissioner is absolutely dedicated to, as am I, as is the BCU Commander, in setting things right. But I do think there has been an impact on people probably joining the service. As people might have seen, there's a campaign at the moment to recruit more PCSOs into the Met, which will be part of the strongest neighbourhoods. But I don't have the specific data on exactly how many cadets we have in Merton at the moment, but I know that it hasn't been increasing. We have got a real investment since the new superintendents have taken place in how do we increase our cadets again. And I think in terms of diversity, again, I don't have the specific data, but I do know our cadets are far more diverse than our regular sort of constabulary. And I think there is a massive opportunity there to help support our cadets to actually go on to take a career in the police service or special constables even. So I'm happy to, if you want me to get back in touch with you, I'm happy to see if I can find that data. If someone could provide your email address for me, and I can make sure I get that over to you.
That'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure we can provide the email.
Brilliant. And then on the third point, just around stop and search, apologies, I haven't come prepared with loads of data for this meeting, plus I'm on my personal laptop, so I'm a little bit without any of my stuff. But in terms of stop and search, I know Merton is, I think, the third lowest in terms of volume for stop and search across the whole of the MPS. I don't see us as an area that is overly over policing stop and search in terms of the data set on numbers. But what I'd be really interested in is the quality and the interactions around stop and search, and how we're, especially as you mentioned, with our ethnic minority community. I know I think it's Christine who was on the Safe Neighbourhood board. I had a meeting with her recently because she had a community monitoring group for stop and search. I'm just really interested to get that back up and running. So I think there'd been a bit of a lag in that meeting actually taking place, and I think that's probably the forum for us to actually review and sort of be held to account really on how we are stop and searching and what learning we can take from that. So I've already met with Christine to discuss this alongside the Merton inspector, someone called Kevin Chambers, and we're looking at reinvigorating that. So I think with that sort of reinvigoration of the community monitoring group, I think that will give us some really good, healthy challenge and accountability, and also hopefully provide some good sort of qualitative data as well from the community. So hopefully, Councillor, that answers the questions, but happy to. Thanks.
Reverend Anna Neal.
Hello, good evening. I'd just like to know what plans you have for your stall at the Mitcham Carnival. Some of the things have been very successful in the past has been where your officers have demonstrated how the public should react to certain situations. And I'm just wondering whether you're just going to hand out leaflets, or you're actually going to have demonstrations on that day.
Thanks, Anna. Yeah, no, thanks for the question. So I will be linking in with James Peppett about the stall itself, and I'm totally up for us demonstrating sort of public scenarios of how people could react. That if that's worked well in the past, and yeah, absolutely, we can incorporate that. I do think there's something about when the police are engaging about actually making it something that's welcoming and interesting as well, because obviously as lovely as we all are, sometimes handing out leaflets doesn't really capture people's excitement, does it? So if we can sort of maybe entice people in a bit more with something interesting like a demonstration of reactions, then I'm all for it. So leave that one with me, and I'll speak with James and make sure we incorporate that. And if there are any other ideas on what we could be doing at the festival and with the stall, just let us know.
Sure.
Councillor Jennifer Gould.
Hello. Yes. So what I'd like to know is around the engagement with disability groups that you take up locally and within the community, and also those with autism? Is that an area that you're looking at engaging with? And also, I would like to see making more use of the community panels, the safer neighbourhood teams, how those could be expanded on, and to encourage more residents to come along and maybe again have special events or interests to engage more people locally, because I think that may help build the trust within the communities if they can see some maybe of someone like yourself attend some of the local meetings. Also, just a slight gripe. At a crime scene locally on Martin Way with a traffic accident, and it didn't help that afterwards that all the blue tape was left blowing around and not taken away. So just small things like that, just to, you know, just help if the community sees the police taking action not to leave those things around. And invitation for you to attend the Morden Family Fun Day on the 9th of July. If you could have a stall there, it would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Lovely. Thanks, Councillor. Some really good points made there. I'll just go through each of them. I need to review exactly what we're doing around our engagement with our sort of disability groups in Merton, and specifically around autism. I mean, it's something that I'm really passionate about myself. So I used to be a neighbourhood officer in Hammersmith and Fulham, and I did a lot of work with Mind, a lot of work with our sort of local learning disability groups, with autistic groups. So it's something that I know is massively important for our communities. And I think also in the way that our officers interact with, you know, with people with certain disabilities, it can really make a difference if our officers have got an awareness of why and how people react to certain situations. So I'm really keen to do some work around that. And again, if there's anyone that's got a specific group or anything that you feel it just isn't getting the engagement it should do, I'm more than happy to take an email and to look at how we can engage. The second point around the ward panels, I think it was, and the local meetings, I'm very much up for attending some of those. Obviously, there's quite a lot of them, so I probably wouldn't be able to attend all of them, but definitely up for attending some of our local panels. And I think again, it's it's a great opportunity for us to involve the local community more in what we're doing and what events we could sort of set up. I'll be keen to hear if there's any events that have worked really well previously. Again, just open to ideas really. And I think the next bit was the Morden Family Fun Day. I would love to go, but I'm going to be on night shifts, unfortunately, that time. So I'll probably be a little bit tired or in bed sleeping, unfortunately. But I will make sure, if we haven't got a police representative, I can make sure that we get someone to sort of show their face at that event. And then, totally get you on the final point of Martin Way and the, you know, it just looks messy, doesn't it? Shouldn't take a lot of effort to just take the tape away. I'll see if I can find out who that was and just share a bit of learning. But yeah, it's sometimes little things like that make a difference. But yeah, all noted. So thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Justine Charles.
Thank you, Councillor. And hi, Luke. I'm a former community development officer in Pollard's Hill. I left in January for a little sabbatical. I'm now looking to get back into work, and I'm working with a number of local BAME organisations in East Merton, predominantly around mentoring and delivering sports activities. And one of the things I'm really quite passionate about and what I've observed in my time in Merton is that partnership can be improved to support BAME organisations basically align themselves to larger pots of funding, national funding, etc., by aligning their projects to low national strategies and so on. And the Violence Reduction Unit has opened up a grant on the 8th of June. It closes on the 28th of June, so it's not a big window, but they're offering grants of £80,000 to £200,000 with a focus on community-led groups to support 8 to 18-year-old Londoners by providing them opportunities and support in the hours following school. So it's about delivering activities straight after school. And the outcomes they're looking for, I think, Luke, aligns to what you're trying to achieve, which is violence is stabilised and reduced, children and young people feel safer, community-focused and partnership approach to long-term sustainable violence reduction solutions. So I was just wondering, like I'm working with about 5, 6 organisations in East Merton, as I said, doing mentoring, doing sports activities, whether this is a conversation we could take up as well, like, because partnership is key to being successful in these kind of large bids. And just, yeah, your thoughts on that, Luke, if possible.
Hi, Jason. No, thanks for that. And I didn't catch the beginning bit. Did you say that you worked with the police in Merton? Sorry. Or was
No,
it...
no, I was a community development officer in Merton, in East, in Pollard Hill specifically.
Okay. No, brilliant. Well, yeah, so you've got some obviously really good insights into the borough, and totally agree with you. There's so many opportunities to link in with, you know, especially sports and young people around diversion and, you know, actual funding to make that happen. So if there is a kind of a funding opportunity through the violence reduction networks, did you say it was 200,000 for
from 80 to 200,000 pounds? So it's quite substantial.
Okay, is that per borough? Is it, or
that's how many? That's the grants they're going to award around 13 grants between 80 and 200,000 pounds. So I think that's a really great opportunity.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? If that's if that's available, Jason, I would be really happy to work with you on that and to look at how we could hopefully gain access to some of that money, because I think that's exactly the kind of activities that we'd want to be delivering and working on. So if you've if either someone passes me your email address, or if you want to send me an email, I'm happy to sort of take it offline and look at what we could do together. Obviously, I'm conscious that there's only 2 weeks to go, isn't there? So it might need to be...
Yeah. It's only a month window, but that's how some of these funds work. You need to be a bit coordinated. But as I said, there's about 5 groups that, as I said, I'm supporting at the moment that I'm sure will be happy to sit down and if we could put something together, and working with the Met would only make that application stronger.
No, absolutely. And just to get like an idea, what other groups are currently involved that you're working with to get grants and funding?
So I work with Jimmy Asher Foundation, Unique Talent. I work with JJ. I don't know if you know JJ, Raising Stars.
Okay.
Active. They work in the schools. And I obviously know multiple partners in Pollard Hill, but you know, there's only point engaging people with what I'm working on at the moment. So I know the faith groups. I know most of the groups in Pollard Hill.
Okay, no, Jason, you're knocking on an open door here. So yeah, more than happy to work with you on that. I mean, if someone could share your email with me, or if you want to, my email.
Either way, I'll make sure I get your email and I'll drop you an email tomorrow.
Brilliant. All right, no, great. Thank you.
Thanks for positivity.
Thank you.
Yes, the council will share the email with you. Councillor Stringer.
Just a very, very quick point coming back to Councillor Gould's question. I've just checked and with the organiser Modern Family Fun Day, and the police are already booked in. You've got a great team underneath you, Luke. So Dave McGuinness has already booked a table. So even if you're working shifts, there will be people there.
Excellent. Nice. Good to hear that. Thanks, Eleanor.
I think I've got a final question for you. I think you are aware about the new changes in the issue of household burglaries. And this came into effect just a few months ago. And I wonder, how is the police going to share this information amongst our communities? Because I've been speaking to a lot of people, you know, and they're not aware of this, because people feel that if you have a household burglary, the police will turn up on the day, and then the next day you get a letter to say the case has been closed. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, I mean, so obviously the Commissioner has set out a really clear vision around burglary as a priority crime. You know, it's got massive impacts for people, you know, well after the offence has taken place. So we have been working recently actually to look at how we can improve our overall service to victims of burglary. I haven't got the specifics on exactly the plans from the other strands, but I know there's a lot of work in terms of how we can improve our investigation opportunities. A lot of the time it comes down to sort of forensics in order to be able to catch suspects. Obviously CCTV as well is another key area, but I haven't got any specifics with me, unfortunately, on what the other strands are actually doing for this meeting. But I know we're very much committed to improving our response to burglaries in Merton. I know in the past our sanction detection rate hasn't been great. It's not been where we'd like it to be, and I think that obviously has a massive impact on people's confidence in the police and that we do a good job. So again, if I'm happy to go away and come back with some better answers on that, but yeah, my assurance is that Merton are very much committed to dealing with burglaries and prioritising them, and making sure we get officers out to burglaries as quickly as possible, and then looking at any opportunities to investigate and to bring offenders to justice.
So I look forward to receiving your further information. Councillor Akijina.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. We were talking about engagement, community engagement. I'm wondering whether you've actually been around the wards, if you've actually walked around with a councillor or somebody, because those are the sort of engagement that you need to do. You go around and chat to people and see how the community actually are, because you get more respect and people get to know you that way if you go around, try and go around to every ward with somebody, a few people, and get to know the people, ask them how they feel, how they're not feeling, what their issues are. You can't do everything, but at least if they know you're listening to them or you want to listen to, you get more brownie points that way, and then they know who to contact or who to speak about when the time comes, because I feel that's very important. And then other things, you have to get to know the people. They are the ones you are working for. And if you don't get to know the people and you're doing things to them, it doesn't work. I have an issue. I have a thing about if you're there for the people, it should be for the people. So I will be constantly nagging you about it's for the people. People know that's how I am. So you need to try and get either councillors or residents and go out and talk to the people. People are very amenable. They're very nice people. They'll be happy to see you.
No, thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Councillor, and I completely agree. I haven't been out as much as I'd like to meet members of the community. I did have a meeting booked in with Councillor Stringer, but unfortunately that I wasn't able to make that one. And I've also got some meetings booked out with the local MPs, where I'm hoping we can have some opportunities to. I think it's a public meeting next week in Wimbledon, actually, with MP Stephen Hammond to talk to the community. But I totally agree with you. It's something I really want to get involved in and just getting to speak to people and getting to know people better, because at the end of the day, you're totally right, it's the public and the people of Merton that we're doing this for, and that's why this is also important, to make sure that they have a decent, safe place to live where they can enjoy their days, their evenings with their family and friends and whatever else they choose to do. So if there is a offer there for me to come out onto a ward with you, I'm also happy to take you up on that.
Right, thank you very much, Superintendent Luke Mooney. Oh, yeah, thank you very much for all the questions and answers. It's been very exciting, because I think police matters are very important to our residents and our communities, because one of the duties we are as elected members is to ensure that our communities are kept safe. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep, no, it's been a pleasure. It's been really interesting talking to people. So thank you very much for having me.
Right. Now, agenda item number 6, we move on to the Mitcham Town Centre Manager update. Paul McGarry.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to speak at this meeting. I'm Paul McGarry. I'm the head of Future Merton. That is the council's regeneration team. Tonight, I'll give an update on some recent announcements where the council will be investing in the local economy in Mitcham and how residents and partners can get involved. Civic pride is a key priority for the council, and in next week's cabinet there will be a range of funding agreed which will support Mitcham Town Centre over the next 3 years, up to 2026. The first of this will be the appointment of a town centre manager for Mitcham. We have just concluded the interviews and the final HR paperwork is underway. So we anticipate that we'll have the town centre manager in post by the end of July. So happy to engage people up to that point to help shape the work programme for that. The role of the town centre manager is principally to promote Mitcham, to support businesses and in effect be the council's eyes and ears in the town centre. Not only will this help with day-to-day issues with our partners and locations boards such as graffiti, litter, and perceptions of ASB, but primarily to support and promote the town centre and its businesses. This will include a programme of events and activities, which we hope will bring to life the town centre and the market square. Secondly, the council is also procuring a market management service. So this will follow on in a few months, but this would be for a company to run and manage Mitcham Market. And that's to support the existing traders, but also to bring new traders to Mitcham Market. This will involve testing different types of markets. So, for example, from clothing to goods, food markets, night markets, Christmas markets, perhaps other forms of entertainment on Market Square as well. But with the changes of retail nationally, we know that retail is struggling. Mitcham Town Centre is not immune to that either. But markets really can be the heart of a community and bring life to the public realm in town centre. So we certainly want to work with local community and partners to see what types of markets and events we can trial to actually promote and drive footfall in the town centre. We have run some engagement sessions already. We had a public meetings at Marks Primary last month. We had an engagement session in Mitcham Market Square held on Friday, 26th of May. I'm very grateful to councillors, many in the room tonight, for the support at that event. We've had some really good feedback already, some very creative ideas coming through from the community, principally around improving the market and definitely more support for events, arts and culture to drive footfall in the town centre. We will also have a stall in Mitcham Carnival on Sunday 25th of June, so if anyone wants to find out more about our work in the town centre or to share ideas or just have a chat, then please come along, our team will be there. Finally, we also have an online survey on the council's website at the moment. That will run to the 31st of August. This is really to hear from residents, businesses and groups about any concerns or comments or ideas about the Mitcham Town Centre. And the idea is we will collate this information and that will help shape the work programme and activities that we hope to deliver for the town centre. I will take questions shortly, and in the meantime, I will put a link to the questionnaire in the chat, as well as my email if anyone wants to contact me outside of the forum. But happy to take any questions.
Paul, any questions online? Councillor Akajima, do you have a question?
Thank you, Paul. You said your interviews are on their way. The ones who didn't get an interview or didn't succeed, did we write back to them to acknowledge that whether we got their application or whether they didn't get an interview?
We will do. So all shortlisted candidates will get letters back. As I say, the final HR paperwork is underway this week. So we have appointed and will provide interview feedback to those who attended the interview.
Okay, thank you.
Reverend Hannah Neal, thank you.
Just wanted to find out how you communicate what's happening to the general public, because as you know, Morrison's closed down and that was devastating for a lot of people. But somebody called us up today and said they've seen somebody working on that particular building and it seems as if it's going to be divided into two shops. Now, how can you communicate some of this to members of the public so that we know what's going on?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Hannah. So obviously the news in Morrison's was quite difficult for Mitcham. It was quite a major retailer to lose. And of course, we understand people's anxiety around that. The council's been meeting with the property owner of Morrison's once a month. We feed that back to local councillors who we also meet every couple of weeks, just to keep everyone updated on any developments there. In terms of updates, really, we have been updating Mitcham Community Forum, but there isn't much news at the moment to tell. We don't have any information about what will go into that unit yet. As far as I know, I think Morrison's are stripping out and getting rid of some of the kit in there, so I presume there will be some remedial works in the meantime. But I do know that the building owner is marketing it. So if we do hear anything, we certainly will want to publicise that through the council channels. But the hope is once the town centre managers in post, we've much more focused communication, much more presence on our website and social to share information. Because up to now, we haven't had that resource.
Is there anyone else online who wishes to ask a question? Oh, okay.
We have the other councillors that we have our newsletter, and if anything comes along, we do put in a newsletter every month. So we can always send you, if anything comes out, we'll let you know, but we can always send you something. But it's mainly the Fixed March one. We do actually send it out, or sometimes it's on next door as well. So we'll let you know if anything comes up.
Okay, thank you, Paul. If anybody has any further questions, perhaps they could make contact with you at a later date. Thank you. We move on to agenda item number 7, Martin Race Equality Conference. Alison Camp.
Thank you. So I'm going to speak to you a little bit about a conference that we've got coming up. It's the Race, Equality and Education Conference for Merton Schools. We had a successful conference last year, and we had a keynote speaker, Professor Paul Miller, that came and spoke to our schools. He does a lot of research, particularly about ethnicity in the workforce of school staff. This year, we have a theme of time to act, representation matters. You know, a lot of our work is thinking about, you know, the power of, you know, you have to see it to be it. So that's very much our theme, with a theme of Windrush running through, so that it fits in with the work that Keith Burns has talked to you about. The conference is just over half a day, so it's starting at 9 o'clock, finishing at 1:30, just to allow our school staff sort of time if they need to go back into school and can't get cover for a whole day. We're very fortunate that Councillor Brenda Fraser has kindly said that she would open up the conference for me. Then we move into the keynote speaker. And then we also have one of our school head teachers, who is a Black head teacher, is going to speak to us about her journey of leadership. And then we're going to move into workshops, and we have 5 workshops. We have one from the Gypsy Roma Traveller education team. We're going to be doing a workshop about the GRT community. We know that unfortunately they are one of the communities that still experience a huge amount of racism. So we're very excited that they're going to do a workshop. Then we have the education psychologists coming to do a workshop about trauma and racism. One of the things that I did last year was a youth conference, and Councillor Stringer, you came along to that, and it was very powerful. And actually what it demonstrated to us is about how our young people can hold on to experiences and trauma. So we want to sort of think about that when we're thinking about our school staff. Another workshop is going to be led by the Governor's Support Team, because of that importance when we're thinking about how our governing boards work together in partnership with our schools. We have another workshop which is a Merton Young Scrutineer is going to be running that. So really thinking about including that voice of Merton, of our young people, featuring in the conference. So she comes from the participation and engagement team. What we learned from the conference last year was that we offered 5 workshops and people wanted to attend 1 or 2. So this time we're offering that we have a carousel, so they will get an opportunity to join more than 1 workshop. The keynote speaker that we've got this year is Aisha Thomas. She's MBE. She has written the book Representation Matters. It's a book about becoming an anti-racist educator. It's very popular with schools, so we're very excited that she's going to come and guest speak and do a keynote speech about representation. She is an ex-principal as well from Bristol, so she has that education background, which is really, really important for us as well. She did do a TEDx talk that was very, very popular, so if it's something you're interested in, it's 10 minutes, you can sort of Google it and find her speaking, and that was really popular, so we're very pleased. We have primary and secondary schools already signed up. We've got about 100 spaces. Priority has to go to obviously to our school staff, our school communities, but we are opening that up to different teams within the borough. We've also got councillors joining us as well. So there is a flyer, and anybody that has that connection with Merton and Merton schools is more than welcome, or just a passion and interest for anti-racism work in schools is welcome to attend. They can email me and I can make a booking and then send out the list of workshops so that can be chosen.
Okay, good. Is there anyone there wanting to ask a burning question? Can't see anybody. Oh yes, Councillor Bukhari. I've just seen your hand up.
Just to show my support, and this is absolutely brilliant. You know, having this approach of anti-racism is exactly the right approach, I think, for young people and schools emerging. So it's fantastic work. I hope that you can, you know, get all of us involved, all councillors, you know, so do reach out to everyone, because I'm sure you'll get a lot of interest.
Yeah, thank you. It's really important that we do, so I coordinate the Black Lives Matters forum for schools, the Equalities Forum, and we really want to have the 75th Windrush theme running through this, but we also want to recognise that when we're thinking about race equality, you know, we're thinking about our South Asian, East Asian, we're thinking about all our communities within that, but of course there will be that Windrush theme that runs through it. It was very successful last year. The youth conference was very successful last year. So we want to sort of not be in the same place, and that's why we're thinking that, you know, it's a time to act. We can't keep talking about this. We're getting further and further away from sort of events of summer 2020. So how are we actively you know, it's not just a tick box that schools attend. What are they actually doing in schools? And actually what I didn't say was one of the workshops is actually one of our schools as well, who do have an Equalities award, coming to speak about their practice and hopefully inspiring other schools to go for that award as well. But I know I'd certainly appreciate any other sort of support from councillors.
It's quite good because obviously, as Councillor Bukhari just said, both of us were school governors in Hatfield, and in terms of equality, we were just the two women of colour who were school governors for many years, and I think it's a good thing to open it up. In fact, we had a discussion at our last school governors meeting in Hatfield where I think the council wanted to know the diversity of governors in the schools, which we gave, and it's much more improved than it used to be. So I think this conference is going to be really good, and I do hope that you share some information with some schools that have diverse governors so that they're aware of it.
At different layers within sort of education and everyone being sort of included in that sort of diversity. So we're really pleased that the governing support team are going to be running a workshop, and there's certainly more governors that have signed up to sort of come along to the conference this year, which is brilliant.
No.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, because I've spent the last 16 years trying to make sure that we do have representation. Things have improved, but you know, the more somebody else takes it on and more improvement comes on, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, with these sort of leading on sort of equality and diversity and inclusion, what I do find is sometimes very often the people in the room aren't necessarily the people that I need, because they're already championing EDI. So I guess that what support I need is sort of getting that message wider and wider, that actually you don't have to lead on EDI to attend this conference. You know, if you've just got an interest or you want some more professional development, it's really open and welcome. And you know, there will be tough conversations, and you know, some people might feel uncomfortable, but actually that's where we need to start the work. So yes, everybody sort of on the call here, it's, you know, I'll send out the details, and more than welcome to have anybody attend.
So Jennifer Gould on the line. Can you ask your question, please?
Yeah, thanks very much. It sounds fascinating, very, very interesting. Can you just say the date again? I don't know if I missed it or whether you did actually say when it was.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
Friday the 30th of June. And it's 8:45 with a start at sort of 9:15 to allow for schools and different teams to sort of network. So we'll be opening by Councillor Brenda Fraser at 9:30. We're very lucky as well that Councillor Sally Kenny is going to close the event for me, and so we should be finishing 1:30.
Anyone else online? I can't see anybody else. So thank you very much, Alison, for your presentation, and thank you so much for all the work you do. We now move on to agenda item number 8, draft equality and diversity inclusion strategy. Keith, once again.
Thank you, Chair. We're just playing microphone tennis here. Thank you, Chair. I do have a presentation which Stella is putting up on screen for me. So thank you very much for that. So I'm just going to talk through the presentation rather than talking through the detail of the draft strategy itself. So this is this item is about the draft equality, diversity and inclusion strategy. And I made reference to this at the last meeting of Joint Consultative Committee. And it's an opportunity for the JCC to have early sight of the draft strategy before it goes out for formal consultation later in July. So Stella, if we could just move on to so just to reconfirm, we're giving the committee an opportunity to see this the draft of the strategy that we intend to go out to consultation with, but it may be subject to some alterations between now and the formal start of the consultation, and I'll explain why in a second when we move on to the next slide, which is the timeline. So the key point in that timeline, or the first key point in that timeline really is the cabinet date in July, the 17th of July. And the draft of the strategy will go to cabinet on that date with a recommendation to cabinet that they approve going out to wider consultation on that draft strategy. So before it reaches cabinet in July, there are some internal groups that it will go through. So it's due to be discussed at our corporate equality steering group tomorrow, and that's a council-wide officer group that meets on a regular basis to consider equalities related issues. It will go to our corporate management team next week for discussion, and then, as I say, on through the leader strategy group to cabinet on the 17th of July. Assuming we get agreement to go out to consultation at that point, the consultation will start from around the 24th of July, because it's a cabinet decision. It's subject to call-in, so we just have to wait for call-in to work through. I don't expect it to be called in because it's simply a decision to go out to consult, but we do just need to wait for call-in to expire. So we intend starting the consultation around the 24th of July, and it will end around the end of September. We just need to confirm that. And part of the reason why we just need to confirm that is that I'm very mindful of the fact that we are going out to consult over the summer period when people will be away at different times. But I will just work that through. Now, part of the reason why we want to end the consultation around the end of September is that this is a strategy that forms part of the council's overall policy framework. And that means that the final version has to go to council to be approved, has to go to full council to be approved and adopted. So the intention is that it would go back through cabinet in final form in October with a recommendation to cabinet that they recommend to council approval and adoption in November. So if we can just move on, Stella, thank you. So in terms of consultation, obviously this just kind of summarizes some of the key bits of the consultation. There will be other aspects absolutely to the consultation, but our next Joint Consultative Committee meeting is on the 12th of September, and I'm proposing that we give over a significant portion of the meeting to properly considering the draft strategy and getting an update on the consultation responses that we've had to date by then. We will go out via the Merton Partnership to all of the constituent partners in the partnership, and through the partnership to all of the other bodies that are represented on the partnership. So via the partnership, we will go out to NHS bodies, we'll go out to police, fire, we'll go out to business sector, And then obviously also the voluntary and community sector, both directly and via the partnership. We will include any other relevant forums or public meetings that are happening over the period, and we'll kind of identify those separately and just make sure that we are proactively getting ourselves onto the agenda for as many of those as possible. But we'll also be inviting groups to ask us to come along, and as far as possible, we'll respond to those requests. We're likely to take it through overview and scrutiny during the consultation period, and the intention would also be to Healthier Communities and Older People's Scrutiny Panel, subject to the Chair's agreement, given that there are protected characteristics that include age and disability, for example. So it's important that we take that wider view. And we will also do consultation via the website and through our usual consultation mechanisms directly with residents and organisations via that route. So just moving on then to what the strategy is. So the purpose of the strategy is essentially twofold. Firstly, it sets out our approach to and plans for reducing inequality in the borough, promoting community cohesion, and celebrating the diversity of the borough. So it kind of has that as its starting point, and I'll talk in a second about the scope of the strategy and the protected characteristics that are encompassed by the strategy. But I think it's also important just to acknowledge in terms of purpose that it is also one of the key ways in which we as a council fulfil our statutory requirements arising from the public sector equalities duty. And there is a statutory requirement that we produce and publish equalities objectives, and the way of doing that is via the strategy. So it has that legal basis in terms of purpose as well. In terms of the strategy itself, it is built around 4 key objectives, and those key objectives are around tackling poverty and identifying the structural differences in social circumstances that result in different access and different outcomes for individuals with particular characteristics. So that, I think, is recognizing that inequality in large part arises from people's life experience, people's life opportunities, and a range of kind of social and structural issues that we need to tackle and recognize in order to reduce inequality. But the second key objective is also around promoting community engagement, empowering residents, improving understanding of the issues that are faced by local people, and making sure that we are developing services to meet those differing needs, and/or making sure that services are flexible enough to meet needs in different ways, to make sure that we're enabling access for all effectively. The strategy is also about promoting safe, healthy, cohesive borough, where communities get on well together. And again, that's really important and hopefully positive in terms of an aim in the strategy. And the 4th key objective is really about continuing to plan for the future. So it's about we know a lot already about what creates inequality, what impacts on cohesion, what impacts on diversity, but what we want to do is continue to build our evidence base so that we have a better and better understanding of the issues, so that we can develop better and better solutions for addressing those issues. So that's what I would say very much about looking to the future. In terms of the scope of the strategy, if we can just move on, Stella, thank you. So just as a reminder, the Public Sector Equality Duty and the Equality Act 2010 relate to 9 protected characteristics, and I've listed them out there. So those are age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, and sexual orientation. So a broad range of characteristics, and that's why this group will be one of the key groups that we work with through the consultation period, but also that there will be a number of other groups that we'll be engaging with in relation to, for example, disability. But I think just to kind of finish off, what we've also done is some work to identify. So those are the 9 protected characteristics that the Equality Act requires us to have regard to in relation to our access to services and in relation to the strategy. But at a local level, what we've also identified is that there are a number of other groups, stroke characteristics that we think require additional focus in terms of ability to access services and in terms of potential for disadvantage in relation to those groups. So those 4 groups are care experienced young people. So that's young people who've been in the care system and are leaving or have left the care system. It's single parent households, armed forces veterans, and socioeconomic status is a characteristic, but obviously we're focusing on the impact of lower socioeconomic groups and the kind of the structural disadvantages that are built in relation to that group. So that I think is just a very kind of brief overview of how we're intending to go through the process of consulting on the strategy, and also just a little bit of detail on what the key points in the strategy are. We will, as I say, just to kind of finish off on the point I started on, the version that we're sharing with the committee now is a pre-consultation draft, and I'd appreciate it if people didn't circulate it more widely, because it may change slightly between now and going to cabinet in July. So we don't want to set hairs running effectively by having other versions in circulation. So if people could just kind of keep it to themselves for now.
Right. Thank you, Keith. Obviously, this is really good because the Equality Act of 2010 is outdated. And last year, the government decided to update the 2010 Equality Act because we have to use it in courts in order to make sure that we are not discriminating against people. And I was keeping an eye in the council's website to see when Martin Council is going to do it. I have been watching because I've been following other authorities to see what they've been doing. I think I've been following Wandsworth, Kingston, Richmond, and Sutton. And I'm pleased to see that the council is now done the draft equality and diversity plan. And I do hope that they will follow the recommendations which is required under the law in terms of the Equality Act, because we can't go back to 2010 because there has been lots of changes under the law, the employment law, and you name it. We have to act in accordance with new laws which are now being implemented. So I have every confidence in the cabinet member to get this going, and also to the cabinet. Thank you. Any questions for me? Draft consultation, people are just going to look at it now and digest it. Thank you so much, Keith, for everything. I think it's good. And we move on quickly to agenda item number 9. Any other business? Yes, Councillor Singh.
I've got none in the other business, and I think that Keith might as well. Mine is, at the last meeting, we told you about the consultation we were going to be doing about streets who were named after people with links to the transatlantic slave trade. I want to just update you that consultation closed a couple of weeks ago. We're analysing the findings at the moment, and we're hoping to say something next week about what our proposed kind of way forward would be on that. So we'll make sure that's sent out to the JCC members. But thank you very much to those who responded.
Anybody else online have any other business? It doesn't look like I haven't seen. Oh, Keith, did you want to?
Chair, I think Councillor Bakari has her hand up.
Thank you. Actually, this is something that I know that Keith is working on. It's the Borough Sanctuaries work, and I'd really like the JCC to look into that further. And if there's any updates or any presentations that Keith can do on that, that would be great.
Keith, did you want to say anything else? No?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Bakari and I are clearly doing a double act because I was going to bring up Borough Sanctuary as an EOB. So just to say, we have as a borough, we have formally submitted the first stage of applying to be a borough of sanctuary. And there is a quite a lengthy process that we will now go through in partnership with Merton Citizens and a range of other voluntary and community sector groups, and critically with people who have lived experience of arriving in the borough as people seeking asylum or with refugee status. We've had 2 meetings of the working group, and what I was going to suggest was that we invite Merton Citizens and possibly a number of the people with lived experience who are part of the group to come along to the September meeting and perhaps update the committee on the work that has happened to date and the plans over the next 12 months or so. So thank you, Chair.
So could I just say, could we also invite City of Sanctuaries as well? Because obviously they would have a really good overlook of how it worked in other boroughs as well. That's just my suggestion.
That on board. Any further questions? Right, it doesn't appear that there is anybody wishing to say anything. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the meeting tonight. It's been great. We've had good subjects, and it's been a fascinating evening. And I hope you all enjoy the obviously the meeting. Have a safe journey home for those who are here. And